Yo, what is up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. Homie Hektor here, and today we're gonna be working on this 2002 Jeep Liberty 3.7 liter engine. Customer called me. He said this car was overheating. He said I was driving, Hector, and a bunch of smoke started coming out from under the hood, just like in the commercials. He said I thought somebody was filming me. I was gonna be a fucking star, but then the car started overheating, and I just stopped driving. I pulled over, and I called you. So can you help me out? I said, yeah, let's take a look at the car. So I got it here in my garage and I'm about to check it out. Car's overheating. First things first, we're gonna go under the hood, do a visual inspection, make sure that, you know, the radiator's not cracked, make sure there's no loose hoses or anything obvious that can jump out at us and tell us what's going on with the car. So we're gonna go under there, do some checks. I'll show you guys what I'm gonna do. This way, if you have a car that's overheating, you know what to do with it. Let's go. All right, guys, 2002 Jeep Liberty 3.7 V6. So the very first thing I do is I come under the hood and then I just do a visual inspection of all the hoses, the upper radiator hose, the lower radiator hose, the radiator, the fan, everything that is related to the cooling system. I double check it, I give it a visual inspection. I make sure that there's no leaks, no obvious cracks within the radiator or anything like that that will jump out at me and just give me a, you know, like a quick clue as to what's wrong with the car. So the very first thing I'm gonna do, since I already let the car cool down, I'm just gonna go ahead and open up the radiator cap and I'm gonna check the coolant level. Okay. Now, look at this radiator cap, guys. Look at this. This right here, this is what I'm talking about. Looking for obvious and dead indications that something might be up right here. Okay, so we're gonna keep this in mind. I'm gonna go ahead and order a new cap because this one is no good. This right here might be our entire problem. We don't know, so we gotta keep checking. Okay. All right, so what I'm gonna do right now is check the coolant level. If the level is good, then I'll put a pressure tester on there and I'll check for any coolant leaks up here and any coolant leaks under the car. All right, so let me put that pressure tester on there. These hoses look like they're intact. Here's the upper radiator hose. The lower radiator hose lives down there. Check all your heater hoses, your bypass hoses, anything related to the cooling system. You want to go ahead and give it a quick visual and then check your coolant level. If you have a pressure tester, put it on there. If you don't have a pressure tester, just put the cap back on and start the car and check for leaks that way. But I'm going to put a pressure tester and we're going to see if we see any leaks. Alright, so before you put a pressure tester on here, you want to make sure that your coolant level is at proper level, because if you don't have any coolant in the system, it's going to be very difficult for you to build pressure. So just so you can see right here, I got proper coolant level right there. So I'm going to go ahead and put my pressure tester and I'm going to pump it up to about 15 psi. There it is. So we're gonna let that sit right there and we're gonna check around for any coolant leaks. You wanna check your water pump. That one looks like it's been replaced. He also did mention to me that he has a new radiator fan, but he's never heard the radiator fan come on. So we're gonna go ahead and check that too. You wanna check the ends of the radiator hoses and make sure that there's no leaks. Sometimes these clamps can come loose and some of your leaks will be found right there. Also check the bottom radiator hose for leaks. Alright guys, so everything looks good up here. I don't see any leaks up here, so what I'm gonna do now is go under the vehicle and make sure that there's no coolant leaks under there. Alright guys, and under the car you can see everything looks dry except for those little drips over here on the bottom left of your screen. There's a little bit of coolant leaking right there on the left side of the screen, and what that looks like to me is exactly this. If you look right here under the reservoir, this bottom hose looks a little bit wet, and that is what's dripping down there. So what I'm actually gonna do is replace this hose clamp and then retest the system. But I also want to make sure that we have proper coolant flow through the system, make sure that there's no coolant restrictions, because that right there is a very small leak. So I don't think that very small leak is gonna cause the car to overheat. So what I want to check is make sure that everything is flowing as it should. The coolant circulates through the hoses, through the radiator. Make sure there's no restrictions in the radiator. Make sure that the thermostat is opening and closing as it should to let proper coolant flow through the engine and back out to the radiator and through the heater core and whatnot. Alright guys, we're gonna start off by replacing this coolant hose clamp right there. We're also gonna replace the reservoir tank, the coolant tank cap. we're gonna replace this cap because it's all beat up right there. But my suspicions are something else is wrong in the system, so we're gonna continue checking. I'm gonna check for a restricted radiator. I gotta check coolant fan operation, and I'm also gonna check the thermostat to make sure that it's opening and closing as it should. So let me replace this clamp right here. Let me top it off with coolant. Let me put the new cap on there, and then we'll continue with our checks. Alright guys, got the new hose clamp in, got the new reservoir tank cap on there. You can see the hose clamp over here. I actually took it off. I didn't just slide it back and put the new one on there like most of you guys do, but everything's fixed. Alright, so what I want to do next is I want to verify coolant fan operation. More than likely a coolant leak was not the cause of the overheating, because as you guys saw, the coolant leak that we had was a very small coolant leak, and unless he was driving it like that for months and months, that small leak will not cause the car to overheat. So what I want to do next is check the radiator fan, because he did mention that he got a new radiator fan but he's never heard it come on, and he's actually never seen it running. So there's a couple ways we can go about it. I can go inside the car, start it up, and then let it run for a couple minutes till it gets hot enough to turn the radiator fan on, or I can actually come on here to this connector, give it its own power and ground to verify that the fan is working. But that's not going to tell me if the car or the computer or the relay or whatever controls this fan is actually going to be able to turn it on. I'm going to show you guys different ways to test your radiator fan and make sure that it's operating. The first way I'm going to show you how to test it is by using this power probe right here. This is a power probe 3, I believe. It's a pretty old power probe, but it's a pretty good one. Alright, so I'm going to take my power probe, connect it to power and ground, and then we're going to supply the fan with the power and ground and see if it works. Okay, here is the power probe. We got a power and ground on there. You guys can see I can supply a ground, or I can supply a power. Also on this power probe, I have this alligator clip right here, which also has a ground. You guys can see right here on the black wire, where the black wire is at, I'm going to hook up the black alligator clip, and that's going to supply that side with the ground. So I'm in there and I have a ground. I'm gonna go to the other pin. Check this out, guys. This ground will go down the black wire through the radiator fan windings and come back up the blue wire. If I have nothing when I touch over here on the blue side, on the blue wire, then that means the windings of the fan are open. So I should have a ground right now. If the windings are intact, I should have a ground on the blue wire. And I do. Now what I'm going to do is give it a power. I'm going to supply the fan with 12 volts, and you guys should hear it running. Alright, so our radiator fan is working. Okay, now that we know that the fan actually works by controlling it over here at the connector with the power and ground, we have to go and check everything else before the fan. So we got to check the coolant temperature sensor, make sure that's sending the right temperature to the relay or to the computer, and figure out if the car is actually able to turn on the fan on its own. So I'm going to take you guys to the next test, which is hooking up a scanner, doing a bi-directional test, and see if we can control the fan that way. So what I'm going to do is activate it, and I'm going to command the relay fan on, and this is going to tell me a couple of things. This is going to tell me that the control side of the relay, that's going to tell me everything on before it gets to the fan is okay. Alright, I'm about to hit on right here, and you guys should hear or see the fan come on if everything is okay on this side. It's a pretty loud fan. Now I'm going to turn it off. So we're able to control the fan with our scanner. That tells me that everything on the control side is working, the relay is working, the computer is working, and we verify that the fan is working. So what I'm going to do right now is start up the car, look at the coolant temperature sensor, and make sure that there's nothing going on right there. One more time, I'm going to hit on right here so you guys can see the fan activating. I just pushed on. It takes a little bit to go through the computer, through the relay, and down to the fan. That is actually a pretty loud fan. Turn it off. Alright, so we just verified that everything on the control side is working. We verified that the fan was working. So the next thing I'm going to do is actually start the car, and I'm going to verify that the coolant temperature is working as it should, and then at the same time I'm going to check thermostat operation. So I'm going to watch this for a little bit. I'm going to let it get warm. I'm going to keep an eye on these two pins, and then I'm gonna verify that the thermostat over there is opening and closing as it should, and after that we should be able to figure out what's going on with this Jeep. Alright guys, one more thing, something else you can do while you have the car running to verify coolant fan operation is you want to come inside, if she's cool with it, turn on your AC, and with your AC on you should have the AC compressor clutch running, and at the same time you should have the AC fan, or in this case we only have one fan, you should have that fan running. So let's go under the hood and see if the fan's actually running right now that we have the AC on. It's not always 100% accurate, because if there's something wrong with the AC, then the fan is not going to come on. But if your AC is working fine, go ahead and do that test and check for coolant fan operation. So you guys can see right here I have the AC on, but the clutch is not engaged on the compressor, and also the AC fan, which is this one, the same fan, is not running. So if we had proper AC operation and this clutch was engaged, then the fan will be running at the same time. So that's another test you can do to check your coolant fan. Just simply turn on your AC and come under the hood and check for coolant fan operation. Alright, let me turn the AC off right there. Now we're gonna look right here and we're gonna see where we're at as far as temperature goes. Okay, as far as temperature goes, we're at about 190. Now I believe the fans on this Jeep come on at about 215, between 215 and 220 if I'm not mistaken. So we're gonna let this get a little bit hotter, and then we're gonna see if the fan is actually able to come on its own. And then, you know what, right now that it's at 192, let's go under the hood and let's see how the hoses feel to see if we got proper coolant flow through the system. Okay, so with the car running at about 190 degrees, the car's pretty hot. So you want to go ahead and feel this top radiator hose, and you can feel that it's hot. I can't show you guys, but take my word for it, this hose is hot, it burns. I'm gonna go and touch the low radiator hose, and it should be about the same temperature as this one. Once that thermostat opens, the temperature should be pretty similar as it's circulating through the system, as coolant is circulating through the system. So let me go ahead and feel that lower radiator hose and see how it feels. This one is cold, not cold to the touch, but it's colder than this one. I'm gonna let it get a little warmer. I'm actually gonna let it get a little warmer, wait till the fans kick in, if they kick in, and then once that fan turns on, I'll double check these coolant temperature, the temperature on the coolant hoses, and we might have a stuck thermostat, guys, because we don't have any coolant leaks, the fan's working as it should. And another thing that I noticed is it looks like this car just got heads done. I don't know if you can see in there, but the head on this car, on this Jeep, looks pretty shiny compared to the other parts of the car. I don't know if this video does justice, but you can see right there the head is pretty shiny. This car just got heads not too long ago. It got a cooling fan and now it's overheating for another reason, so we're trying to figure it out. But always question your customer, ask questions, and it's gonna shorten your diagnostic time. So we're gonna wait a little bit here till the fan turns on. If it does, then we'll be good, and we'll condemn this one as possibly a bad thermostat. And there it is, guys, fan just kicked in. We are at 219 degrees Fahrenheit right there. The fan just kicked in. Let me show you. There it is, guys, 219 degrees Fahrenheit. The fan just came on. Alright guys, so we ended up doing the thermostat on this Jeep Liberty, and it's a good thing that I recommended it, because I don't know if you saw from the video, if you saw some footage of it, there was a bunch of silicone around here. Now if you already have a gasket, there's no need for silicone. You're making it a double gasket, and not only that, but you run the risk of clogging this thing up, because when you put silicone and you tighten up the bolts, it squishes up and you have the possibility of clogging this up. So it's a good thing I recommended it. I cleaned it up real well. I put the new one on there and it's good to go. Alright, so we did the hose clamp to prevent any more leaks. It was only a minor leak. I don't think that was the cause of the overheating. I actually think the cause cause of the overheating was this damaged radiator or recovery tank cap, which wasn't sealing properly. It was not allowing the pressure to build up properly in the system, and all the coolant, I believe, was leaking out of here. So it's a good thing that he brought it to me. We checked it out. Simple radiator cap, simple thermostat, and this car's good to go. There's no leaks, there's no overheating. We checked the fan. The fan was working. I showed you different ways of checking it with the power probe, the scanner, turning on your AC just to verify that your AC, that your fan is working. And that's gonna be it, guys. Different ways to check your car's overheating's concern. And this guy got it done for pretty cheap. All right, so I'm gonna end the video right here. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, drop them down in the comments below. If you want to follow me on Instagram, I'll put the Instagram right there so you guys can go follow me and stay up to date with future projects. You'll probably see some footage of that before it goes up on the tube, so do that. If you want to support the channel, get yourself some merch down in the description below. All the tools and products that I've used are going to be linked down in the description, so be sure to check that out. And if you're new here, consider subscribing. I'm going to get out of here, guys. Peace out. I'll see you on the next one.